What's good? How y'all doing this evening?
Welcome to the FILA Sports Podcast, Rivalry Week, Wednesday night, talking college football. Y'all know how we do. Coach Mario, and the Godfather of the Don. What's going on, man?
What's good? How y'all doing this evening? We back with another episode of Rivalry Week. We're going to be previewing Georgia versus Tennessee. That game takes place this Saturday. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics and other Georgia college fanatics. And hit us up in the comment section. As always,
come holla.
At your hometown sports podcast. Right, my bad. I had to do something. I had to do something okay. With the volume thing. So I apologize.
I'm like, I got rhythm. You threw me off beat.
My bad, man. I had to get some. I had to get the volume thing checked. So, if you haven't been following us, we are pretty much on all the social media outlets. Follow us on Twitter at FILA_SP. Follow us on Instagram at FILA Sports Podcast and on Facebook. FILA Sports Podcast. We're also on Spotify and Google Play. Next week, I got good news. Next week, I'm going to have a lot of free time on my hands, so I will get the right software sometime this weekend, and I will be uploading all the episodes that we have done since August, and I will be putting them on Spotify and on Google Play. So just be patient. Now, some episodes are not going to be on there because I know there's some episodes that the audio was just all screwed up. So we won't put those episodes on. But everything else that sound crisp and nice, we'll put those on there. So everybody that's in the chat, that's going to be in the chat, we got 5 people watching. Appreciate it. Hey, y'all need to let people know, all the UGA fans, even if y'all know fans that are Tennessee Volunteer fans, tell them to come watch the show. Tell them to come watch the show. We have a special guest on with us, Caleb Calhoun. He's a writer, and he had credentials to go to all the Tennessee games. But I'm not going to spoil everything. I'm going to let him introduce himself. How you doing, Caleb?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're good, man. Great. We're good.
Great to see you. Yeah, I write for All for Tennessee. We do all Tennessee sports coverage of all football, basketball, women's basketball, all of that fun stuff.
Equestrian?
I don't think Tennessee has a varsity equestrian team. So, but we do a little bit of track and field coverage. There was some news this week with Justin Gatlin, Christian Coleman finishing 1-2 both championships last week. So
smooth the way you slipped that in there, real smooth. Okay, hey, what's going on, Trey? What's going on, fellas? All right, we'll run down the scores from last week's college game, and then we'll get into some UGA and Tennessee talk. The big win, I'm sure everybody knows, Georgia Tech lost 24-2. Yes, it was football. We lost to Temple. We expected. I know. It wasn't a surprise, actually. Temple was favored to win. I mean, thought we'd score more than 2 points, but yeah, Temple did get the win. Saturday, Georgia Tech is home versus rival UNC. That game is at 4 p.m. It is on the ACC network. Tech is at 1-3 now. 1-3 right now for Tech. Ooh, gonna be tough to make a bowl, but we expected it. Got to give Coach Scholar some time with what he inherited. Georgia State has a bye Saturday. Georgia State had a bye last Saturday. This Saturday, they'll be home versus Arkansas State. That game is at 3:30. You can catch it on ESPN Plus, or you can go down to the stadium and see it. Georgia State right now is 2-2. Georgia Southern is also coming off a bye. They actually play tomorrow. They have a Thursday night game. It's tough. I hate that they're running into the same with the Braves because it's going to be tough to check them out. But Georgia Southern going to action tomorrow versus South Alabama. It's a conference game. It'll be on ESPNU, 7:30. Now, Georgia Southern is at 1-3, but they have a part of their schedule coming up where you think they have some winnable games. So a bowl game is certainly in the works, possibly for Georgia Southern. So don't write them off.
They won a bowl game last year, so they can win one again this year. So
yeah. Yeah, and like the 1-3 start, you know, they had their heartbreaker that they should have won.
Minnesota.
Not who was that? They should have won that Big
Minnesota.
10 team. Minnesota, yeah, they had the heartbreaker that they lost to Minnesota, and then like I said, they're 1-3, but they have a couple games coming up where you think they'll be able to climb to 500, and you certainly think they'll be able to get to 6 wins. So I think Georgia Southern is on the upswing. Kennesaw State won 31-7 over Reinhardt. The game was suspended in the third quarter because of lightning, but it is counting as a full game, and Kennesaw State has a bye this Saturday. Valdosta State won versus Shorter College. Saturday will be home versus Mississippi College. That one's at 2 p.m. and they are 4-0. And Kennesaw State is 3-1. You guys. Morehouse took the L to Savannah State 10-17. Saturday they will be home versus Kentucky State 2 p.m. Morehouse is now at 1-3.
Yes.
But they're doing a little bit better than Clark Atlanta, who's at 0-4. They took a loss last week. Albany State 19-54. Just disrespectful. Albany State coming in people's house and put 54 points on them. Saturday.
It was not good for the AU. The AU was just in shambles last Saturday. And shouts out to Savannah State. Savannah State, I believe, 3-1 right now too. So.
I had a couple buddies who were hanging out down there all weekend. They said, the football wasn't so good, but they said it was an awesome time on campus last week. So they said it was big fun over there. Albany State and Savannah State all in town. So I heard it was a big party. Clark Atlanta is going down to Birmingham to take on Miles College Saturday. That'll be 4 p.m. Remember, that's Central Time, Alabama. And that brings us to the game that we're here to talk about. UGA and Tennessee, that goes Saturday at 7 p.m., the SEC game on ESPN. And all right, so one of the first things that we want to talk about, and it's the elephant in the room, of course, when you bring up Tennessee. Caleb, what do you think? What does Tennessee have to do to get back atop? And first, let's just say the SEC East, because before we can even talk about top 25, the SEC East, and is Pruitt the person to do it?
I think the jury's still out on Pruitt. I will say that to get back to the top 25, the biggest thing is they just need players. And a lot of people are trying to compare Jeremy Pruitt's situation to Kirby Smart's at Georgia. But, Kirby Smart walked into a program that, under Mark Richt, was still a pretty good program. Yeah. He just had to take it to another level. But Jeremy Pruitt walked in to the worst team in the SEC in 2017. It was the only season in Tennessee history that they lost 8 games and didn't win an SEC game. And he comes into a school that's been running a spread and a nickel-based 4-3 for the last few years, and he tries to bring in a pro style, install the 3-4. And then after his first year, his offensive coordinator leaves. He brings Jim Chaney out of Georgia. And I kind of said this at the time when Tennessee hired Jim Chaney. A lot of people who know about him know that he's a great offensive coordinator when it comes to maximizing the talents of his players. But if he doesn't have a lot of talent, then it's kind of hard to maximize that talent. He's not really going to be the guy that out-schemes you. He's going to be the guy that, okay, I got a lot of great weapons. I'm going to figure out how to get them the ball. And right now, he's just limited on weapons right now.
That's fair. Jim Chaney. That's a very fair assessment of Jim Chaney. I agree with you on Pruitt. I've admired. I'm a big defensive guy. I've admired his defense. I admire his philosophy. The thing about Jeremy Pruitt, I don't know if people know, but he isn't known to be the most people person. We'll just put it like that. And so when you talk about him being a head coach, head coach is about a lot of, shake your hand. There's a lot of corporate stuff. And, that's not Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt's a football coach. He doesn't do the shake it. He doesn't want to do the shake your hand with the boosters and that type of thing, of course, but it comes with being a head coach. So, I wonder, is that type of thing going to keep Jeremy Pruitt from being successful?
I've heard people say that before, and I will say it kind of depends. Because there are coaches that are like Jeremy Pruitt, but usually they only act that way after they've really established themselves. I think that, if you look at Nick Saban at LSU versus Nick Saban at Alabama, they're actually two different Nick Sabans. Yeah, I remember when Nick Saban was at LSU, he spent all the time in the world being the nicest person ever, promoting LSU. He was great in interviews. Now that he doesn't have to do that anymore, he's at Alabama, and he's got such a legacy, he doesn't care. And you can kind of tell that's why he can lash out at the media all he wants. And I've wondered that myself with Jeremy Pruitt. I think that one of Tennessee's problems recently, and this could do them in with Pruitt, but we're not sure yet, is that they always make the overreaction. They always make the hire to overcorrect from the previous hire that didn't work out. So
yeah.
The program got stale under Fulmer, so they went and hired Lane Kiffin to make a splash. And then
they did. And they did.
It was a raindrop splash.
And so they go for the steady hand again in Derek Dooley. So Jerry Pruitt's kind of the anti-Butch Jones. Or Butch Jones had all the cliches and the quotes and would talk to the media. And this time they were like, let's hire an SEC football guy, just a football guy. And so I think that's where the Pruitt hire came from.
Hey, Don. I don't know if you heard this story before. It was, I don't want to say it's rumor. I'm sorry, because I know it's true. I'm sorry. I've had inside information. I know it's true. Jeremy Pruitt basically threatened to kick Mark Richt's ass. He told him at practice one day. So you heard the story before, Caleb. He told him at practice one day, and then pretty much called him on the phone later and threatened to come over his house and kick his ass. And yeah, that did happen. Jeremy Pruitt.
We've heard actually we've heard different takes on Pruitt from Alabama fans and Georgia fans, because Georgia fans, I noticed I remember watching Aaron Murray, and Aaron Murray has not the nicest things to say about Jeremy Pruitt. But then I remember a lot of the players tweeting out when Mark Richt was fired. I remember a lot of the players tweeting out begging for Georgia to at least keep Pruitt on staff and nobody else.
Well, from defensive guys loved him. Like I said, Pruitt is a football coach.
Right.
Administrators and boosters and stuff, not so much, But the guys on the team, the players, they loved him. They loved him. I mean, they loved him. Not that they didn't love Mark Richt, but they loved Pruitt. He don't play the radio. You know what I'm saying? He don't play the radio. He's a football coach. He don't do all of the outside. And like I say, that's why I just haven't been sure he's gonna be able to make the transition to head coach. All right. But let's acknowledge the people who we have in the chat before we move on to the next thing. What's going on, Trey? Thanks for joining us. Trey? I-20 Eric said, "Go Dogs." Thanks. Hey, Dad, Georgia boy. Thanks for joining us. I-20 Eric said, "Oh, come on." JF, thanks for joining us like that. And see, JF also says, "Caleb, thanks for taking Chaney." Chaney had he was getting a tough rap here at the end. For an offense that was averaging over 30 points.
Yeah, a lot of Tennessee fans, Chaney was at Tennessee 2009 to 2012, and he was Dooley's offensive coordinator. His last year, Tennessee broke a lot of offensive records with Tyler Bray throwing to Cordarrelle Patterson and Justin Hunter. But there was always that feeling like it just seemed like whenever Tennessee needed a late fourth quarter drive to win the game, they always came up short every time. So there was just something. It always seemed like something was missing with him, but at the same time, I think Tennessee fans are thinking, given the state of the Vols right now, Jim Chaney came across to a lot of them as a coup, just because I think a lot of people in Knoxville, we know what he can do and what he can't do, and to maximize what he can do, he's got to get talent like what Kirby Smart got at Georgia.
Yeah. Eric makes a good point as well. I never thought about this, Eric. He says, "My biggest problem with Neyland Stadium is that the field has cost 2 Georgia running backs their knees in recent history. So that field always worries me."
Yeah. Been a part of some infamous SEC injuries. They were also responsible for the Marcus Lattimore injury in 2012.
Wow.
Columbia.
I know it's going back a long time. I don't know if you remember when Jamal Lewis got hurt. Was that at home? Was that at Neyland?
That was at Auburn. That was at Auburn.
Okay.
But Jamal Lewis got hurt, and the next week, Tennessee was actually an underdog at Georgia that week. And a lot of people don't know that. It was Quincy Carter was undefeated to start off that year.
I graduated with Quincy, known in my whole life. I remember very vividly. I remember very vividly. All right, so we all know playing UGA. No secret, we want to run it 30 times. What do you think? What do you think that Pruitt plans on doing to stop the rush? Do you think he'll add an extra guy to the front? Do you think he'll blitz more? What do you think that Pruitt plans on doing to slow down the rushing
I think
attack?
what he's going to do is end up putting in right now, even though Pruitt likes to run a 3-4, he's run more of a nickel the last couple of years, so he's done more of a 4-2-5. I think this game he's going to focus. He's actually just going to go to standard 4-3, which he hasn't really done yet. Put an extra linebacker in there, mainly because Georgia, they've only given up 1 sack on the year, I think, but I do think they've allowed 13 tackles for a loss, and 10 of them have come from linebackers. And last year, Darrell Taylor he was the one player who showed up for Tennessee when they faced Georgia. So I think Pruitt's going to try to run a 4-3, maybe even do a little bit of a monster package every now and then. And I think it'll be an extra linebacker here and there, not necessarily an extra. And he'll stick with his 4-down lineman that he's been doing all year and then throw in an extra linebacker. Now, it puts a lot of pressure in the secondary, but Tennessee actually hasn't been too bad in the secondary this year. So I think he'll put an extra linebacker in.
I actually watched Pruitt's press conference earlier this week, and one of the reporters asked him more about going more of the 3-4 look, and he said it's really been more out of personnel. He was like, getting the best group of 11 on the field, and he was like, he's just been feeling that's his best group of 11. Yeah. What'd you have done?
They're just a little thin right now. He's still trying to recruit there. He had a pretty good class coming in this past year, but they still got a little more work to do at that position for depth.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Don. You was about to say something.
No, I was just laughing. That's all.
You know what? I just thought about it. I do have a major gripe with Coach Pruitt. Why he don't like the smoke gray uniforms? Oh my God, they are so hard. He don't like the smoke gray. Pruitt hates it. I asked him that. I said, Coach Pruitt, why don't you like the smoke grays? He said, orange. Where'd the gray come from? I'm like, Coach Pruitt, that's the worst move you ever made. Man, I love those smoke gray uniforms. Is it just me?
No. I think it really. I think Pruitt did it to increase his brand as just a football guy, because he said in one interview like jerseys don't win games, and
he did.
That's true.
Nick Saban just has the standard crimson and white jerseys that he does. But yeah, I think that one of the things that helps Tennessee recruit, and one of the things I've argued is that, and you guys know this being in Georgia, Tennessee can't recruit as easily as Georgia and Alabama can. The football's just not as good in the state, and so they actually have to. I think they have to do certain creative things. So I feel like, I know it's kind of a funny thing, but the smoky gray uniforms were a good thing for buzz to talk to recruits, and the checkered nail-in and things like that. And I loved it when Kiffin donned the black jerseys on Halloween 10 years ago. Yeah. And I always felt like every time Tennessee plays at home on Halloween, they should be wearing black jerseys, because the black and orange is just perfect.
Yeah.
Don, do you like the smoke gray?
No, I don't.
For real?
No. I had an ideal in mind for a Tennessee jersey. They got the checker, have a checkered uniform. I think that'll look hard.
And I love that smoke, man. That smoke gray Tennessee uniform it's top 5 my favorite college uniform.
Yeah, and I think that suggestion is almost a way. Like, could you imagine how badly roasted they would get in an all checkered uniform?
and see, the thing about uniforms is just like you mentioned Nick Saban. Nick Saban would never wear smoke gray. If he was Tennessee's coach, he would never wear it. If you go, I mean, come on, everybody remember Georgia going to their own funeral. 2008. Alabama came in there. We wore those black jerseys. I mean, everybody remembers that you go and you wear that alternate jersey and you lose. You never live it down. You never live it down.
Notre Dame and the green jerseys. They always blame the green jerseys whenever they lose.
Yeah. All right. So, going back in the chat real quick, I-20 Eric said Chaney averaged 30 points, but if he doesn't abandon the run in the college football championship, we win that game. Points are everything. And that's the consensus of most Georgia fans, Caleb, and that's why, they were like, they were happy to see Chaney go. The majority of our fan base was. Yeah. And that Georgia boy said Smart won't let the team wear the black unis, and that's why that Georgia boy, because Kirby's like, you go out there and lose in them, and that becomes the story. Like, Why does Jersey matter? Just go play football. I know that's what Kirby Field. I know that's what
Eric said. That Eric said Pruitt's plan to stop Georgia's running game. Praying hand emojis.
Yeah, I was gonna skip that one. I told the guys in our chat, no truck. When we have guys on, we can't troll them.
Well, you know that's not really true. It's kind of true in a way, you know. Like it's. Yeah.
No, it's pretty funny. I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny.
Hey, this year is like this is the year that Tennessee happened to start selling out. The SEC, started doing the alcohol sales at the stadiums. And Tennessee just picked the perfect year to have it.
That's pretty good. Man, I can't believe I hadn't seen that as a meme yet. That's gonna be a meme. One of these guys about to have that on Twitter soon.
Their first game that they decided to do alcohol sales was against BYU, and I'm like, did they do this to troll the Mormon school? And I'm like, now God is really cursing them now this year.
We're gonna get drunk and play the Mormons. That's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. Eric said he thinks it's because the extra things that take away from the main focus. Yeah. Also, Eric talking about the uniforms. And JF said, I'm a Georgia boy and I want the dogs in black. Yeah, we all love the black. I love the all black. And Eric said, smoke gray with top 5 with TCU's alternates. Yes. Oregon's, Georgia's black. Texas Tech's all black. I guess he's some of his favorite uniforms. Yeah.
Let me throw out. I lived in 8 years ago. I went to the Maryland-Miami game when Maryland had the uniforms that LeBron trolled, the all white with the flag, and
and the helmets, and
yes.
That Florida State black too. Eric, Florida State black is hard. And Trey said, y'all remember when Georgia lost to Boise State with those gray unis? Yes, there was Nike combat Trey.
Now, y'all forgetting, hold on. Y'all forgetting the best uniform of all time. The maize uniform wore by Michigan. That's hard. Man, don't hate, man. You already know, man.
We not hate. My partner is from Atlanta, but he's a Michigan fan, so we don't even discuss,
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm on that one too.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. They'll be looking for a coach soon too.
Yeah.
And okay, that you kind of segued into our last topic. When you talk about the high school, in one thing is interesting. Of all the states that touched Georgia, in my opinion, Tennessee probably has the worst high school football. Of North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, of all the states that touch Georgia, which I just don't understand why. And Coach Pruitt told me himself one time that recruiting in Tennessee is very weird because he told me that our best high school football is in Memphis, and that city is 5 hours away from me in my own state. And I had just never thought about it. And he was like, the guys who live in Memphis don't grow up wanting to play for Tennessee. He was like, it's so far away, there's other schools around, and I had just never thought about that, and I just wanted to ask your opinions on that.
Yeah, it's always been a unique thing and this is one of the things that actually got Derek Dooley in a bit of hot water in Tennessee, because Tennessee is a state where if you're going to recruit the top talent, right, you have to do it in Memphis, and you got the best way to do it is to build relationships with the coaches out there. Fulmer had a pipeline from Melrose High School, which is in Orange Mound in Memphis, with Cedric Wilson, Andre Lott, people like that. And that's where he was able to do it. But the biggest benefit for Tennessee was always to take a couple of players from Alabama, a couple of players from Mississippi, a couple of players from North Carolina, because they border all of these states, and then take half their players from Georgia. and this isn't a coincidence. Georgia hires Mark Richt in 2001. That's the last year that Tennessee has finished in the top 10. They haven't finished in the top 10 since then. And Mark Richt made it a lot harder for Tennessee to recruit Georgia. Nick Saban obviously made it impossible for Tennessee to recruit Alabama. And now Kirby Smart at Georgia has made it harder. Jerry Pruitt did better in Georgia last year than any Tennessee coach has done since Fulmer's national title years, when they had Jamal Lewis, Deion Grant, Kosi Coleman, all of those guys.
Martin.
And it's getting better in Nashville, because Nashville's one of those. Tennessee is what I call Knoxville's in the middle of the tech triangle of the South. So you got Nashville, Atlanta, and Charlotte have these booming, growing populations because of so many people moving to those cities. and it's got this giant tech triangle going. And so a lot more kids in those areas now that are starting to play high school football that will benefit Knoxville just because of its location. But yeah, Memphis is a real tricky. The way to recruit Memphis has always been to make sure you build a relationship with the high school football coaches in that city. And, Fulmer was able to do it because he was a Tennessee guy through and through. But Jeremy Pruitt, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones, a lot of these guys weren't from Tennessee. They didn't really necessarily know the lay of the land. And, we've talked about Pruitt just being a football coach. Well, you can't just be a football coach when you got to build relationships with guys from high schools 5 hours away.
And it didn't help. It didn't help when Hugh Freeze became the head coach at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is not that far from Memphis, by the way. So,
no, it's not.
And they recruit heavily. Ole Miss, they recruit heavily from Memphis. Not only Ole Miss, but Arkansas, Memphis, Vanderbilt. They all recruit from the Memphis area. Even Alabama, even Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is not that far from Memphis.
Exactly. And not just Hugh Freeze. Ed Orgeron, for as badly as he failed at Ole Miss, recruited really well.
Yeah.
And, we all saw the story. We all know the story of the blind side of how close Michael Orr was going to Tennessee. And, Ed Orgeron really started to make inroads into Memphis even when Fulmer was a head coach, and that really started to hurt Tennessee recruiting. I'm old enough to remember living in Memphis, Ole Miss fans still never forgiving Peyton Manning for going to Tennessee.
and that's what I wanted to ask you as well, guys in the chat before he came on. Caleb told us he was from Memphis. So as a kid growing up in Memphis, what college, if you had to pick of the litter of the land, where college would you have chosen?
Me personally, coming out of high school, I would have chosen Tennessee because I grew up a Vols fan. But I got to be honest, now that I'm older, and I think rationally, if I'm I would have considered going to Duke because I'd love to play for David Cutcliffe at this point, and I'd go to a pretty good school at the same time. Now, I ended up going to Maryland, so I can't say that loud because Maryland fans hate Duke from the ACC days. But if I were just thinking about my future, I'm I know I'll get well coached by David Cutcliffe, and I know I'll be at a good school. But yeah, I didn't really have an affinity for Ole Miss or Arkansas as much. They were close, and I knew a lot of fans of those schools, but I wasn't I had a lot of fun with, when we lived in Memphis. The unique part of this, one of the funniest moments was in the 90s, Bill Clinton is president, Al Gore's vice president, one's from Arkansas, one's from Tennessee. And one of the best, if anybody wants to watch it, White House visits is when Tennessee wins the national championship in '98, and Al Gore invites him and has to bring up that infamous Arkansas game where Clint Sterner tripped over his offensive lineman's foot and fell. And fell.
And see that '98 team, man, that you kind of touched on a little bit. That ticked me off so much because I went to high school. Well, not at the same time. Same high school as Kosi Coleman, Deion Grant. Jamal Lewis is the best football player I've ever played against in my life. By far played against easily. And, these are guys that growing up a Georgia fan that were the biggest recruits around here and went to Tennessee and starred and beat Georgia. And I'm so mad. And I'm like, man, Jim Donnan, what's going on? Why we can't keep these guys here? Why, Yeah. And I didn't like Tennessee. I hated Tennessee because they would take guys that I grew up with and come and beat my home school with them. And I didn't like that at all. No, I didn't like it. And I'm still not over it.
I understand that. I knew growing up. I remember Georgia did turn it into a rivalry in the early 2000s, but I remember the hatred for Tennessee that Georgia fans had. But, you guys got Tennessee pretty good in the early 2000s a few times. 2003, the Sean Jones
P44 Haynes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one in the 2002, the P44 Haynes, Hobnail Boot.
Hobnail Boot.
Yeah.
Tennessee fans got over that one because they still should have gone to the national title that year, and then they blew the SEC championship game to LSU.
Yes.
They're cursed playing in Atlanta, Tennessee. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah.
But
All
right. They lost 9 straight in the Georgia Dome in the 2000s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay. I need to go back and look at that. I didn't know that.
Even I think y'all played. And then y'all played in the Peach Bowl against Miami, I believe. I think in 04, 05, and y'all lost that game too.
No, it was Maryland.
LSU. Y'all played in the Peach Bowl against LSU one of those years too, wasn't it?
No. It was 2001. They played LSU and they would have gone to the national title. And LSU was not. Okay. LSU, they were still building. They weren't where they were yet. They had 3 losses. And LSU beats Tennessee. The week after Tennessee had just beaten Florida in the Swamp. The next year they go to the Peach Bowl. They're favored over Maryland. They lose 30-3. The next year they go to the Peach Bowl again. They're favored over Clemson, and they lose 27-14.
Now that one I remember.
Yes,
I remember that. Yes.
And then the next year they played Auburn. Now they weren't favored over Auburn, so that was an understandable loss. And then 3 years later they lost to LSU. 2 years later they lost to Virginia Tech. And there was just a sense of among Tennessee fans, are we cursed playing in the Georgia Dome? And then finally, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome opens, and Tennessee's first game against them, I think you guys remember this, is 2 years ago.
Ooh, pause. It's not the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We have a hatred towards Saints and everything that's in New Orleans.
I knew as soon as you said that, I said, Don, finna stop this.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. I get it mixed up all the time. There's 2 Mercedes-Benz domes in the South.
Oh, no! Hey, look, I'm about to let the guys in the chat troll you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, technically you're right, but after this year, there'll only be 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're losing New Orleans is losing the name of the rights, so they won't be the Mercedes-Benz Dome anymore.
That'd be the Waste Management Superdome.
I don't know what their new name is gonna be, but yeah,
it's gonna be Waste Management. I'm telling you, it's gonna be Waste Management Superdome.
That's a little cruel. Cruel.
Or it's gonna be Kohler. It's gonna be, what's the name of the commode company that make Delta Kohler or something, whatever.
Little rough. But yeah, okay. So in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That Tennessee played the second game there, and of all time, I think Alabama played the first, and then they beat Georgia Tech in double overtime, 42-41, and then Tennessee proceeds to have the worst season in school history that year. And so it's like they broke the curse, but it's like in the book, when they kill Pennywise at the very end, the whole town floods, and so.
Now, you mentioned David Cutcliffe. I remember he used to be the offensive coordinator at Tennessee when Peyton Manning was there in the 90s. Then he got a head coaching job out there in Ole Miss, and that's when Eli went out there and went out to Ole Miss. Now he's out there in Duke. Now we know Cooper Manning's son is a freshman at Newsom High School out there in New Orleans. Now, if Cutcliffe still is at Duke 4 or 5 years later, do you see Cooper Manning's son going to Duke, or will he go to Tennessee, or will he go to Ole Miss? But I don't really think he has any ties to Tennessee, because that's Peyton went there.
Peyton Manning absolutely loves David Cutcliffe.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. As a matter of fact, Peyton Manning it's been very clear that that's the only coach he's ever listened to.
For real.
And,
he pretty much told you that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So Eli, many people in Knoxville, I don't think it's true, but many people in Knoxville firmly believe that the only reason Ole Miss hired David Cutcliffe was to make sure Eli Manning wouldn't go to Tennessee, because they fired him the year after.
Yeah, they did.
And so,
if people don't know, David Cutcliffe, he could go coach wherever he wants to. He chooses Duke because he doesn't like recruiting. He doesn't want to coach pro ball. But David Cutcliffe is very much revered and can get a job just about anywhere he wants to coach at in the country, college or pro, easily.
Yeah, exactly. He's openly said he coaches because he loves practice. He just loves running practices. That's his favorite thing. Developing talent in practice.
Yeah. Yeah, but he never want to coach at a bigger university that would demand more of his personal time on the recruiting trail and with the alumni boosters. But he certainly could go and do whatever he want to do. David Cutcliffe is revered.
Yes, he is. And, he came back to Tennessee in 2006 and 2007 for a couple of years before he went to Duke and let it turn around with Eric Ames. Vols win the East in 2007. he goes and takes the job at Duke, and Tennessee hasn't really been relevant since.
All right. So read through the chat, and then we'll get to our predictions for Saturday. I-20 Eric said the Navy Unis Academy. Yeah, the blue on blue Navy. That is nice, Eric. JF said, here we go with the Don talking about Michigan again. He got to slip it in there some type of week. And they got a little win this week. So if they lose, he won't say
man,
too much.
I already know, man, we you know, we trash right now. So I'm embracing this up. It's fine.
The problem is y'all a basketball school, man.
Well, I don't even think we're basketball. I don't even think we're a basketball school because we lost our coach.
You have on basketball gear playing football though. That's your problem. Y'all got to take off Jordans, man. Jordan
coach, don't start now.
Oh, did y'all see where Florida this week is doing jerseys with from 1960, but they got the Jordan logo on it, and we're all like, wait. Michael Jordan wasn't even alive in 1960.
I didn't see that. No, I'm about to go to Twitter and find that out soon as that. I'm surprised that that Georgia boy, him or Reggie, hadn't retweeted that. No, I didn't see that. I gotta go sit. And Eric said, Don, Michigan always should be in the blue. Always. He loves the blue. And he said that's the only reason he likes Michigan is because of their blue jersey. Okay, so let's move to the picks. I think I went first last week, Don. We'll let you go first. We'll let you go last. Caleb, Don, what do you think? What is your predictions for Saturday, 7 p.m. on ESPN, Georgia and Tennessee?
UGA 35, Tennessee 21.
Tennessee what, Don?
21.
Okay. 21? Two touchdowns? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Kirby does not run the score up, but if he has a chance to run it up on Tennessee, he certainly will, because being the SEC rival is not that he doesn't like Pruitt, it's just Tennessee. So if he has a chance to mash on the grass, normally Kirby wouldn't do that, but for Tennessee, yeah, he would. So he's going to try to get 40. So I'm going to go 40 to 17. UGA is what I think. 40 to 17. I think that DeAndre Swift and Cook go off.
All right, everybody in the chat, let us know y'all predictions too before we go off.
Yeah. What do you think will happen Saturday?
Well, I find it interesting that both Georgia guys don't think Georgia's going to cover over the weekend. You know, the spread is 25, and I think you're right. I think Kirby has a little bit of hatred for Tennessee that dates back because he was playing during those 90s years for Georgia. Yep. And then we call it the Dobbs nail boot game to replace the Hobnail boot from 2016 with the Dobbs Hail Mary. So I think we're going to go.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
I think because of the running game, I think Georgia's just going to try to will and do their. I mean, I've said it. Georgia has the most dominant team I've ever seen, and it's in the most boring way. They just dominate you. They dominate. I mean, you wake up and they're up 31, 38, 45, nothing. But I actually think that they'll run the clock in an SEC game like they did against Vanderbilt. So I'm going to go Georgia 31-10. And so that is, I think Georgia does not cover. So take Tennessee on the spread, and I'm taking the under. The under is at 51.5, I think. So I got 31-10, so I think the game will hit the under.
Okay.
All right, a couple of predictions in the chat. JF, pretty funny. JF said he would give his prediction, but coach said no trail.
Man, JF, get your predictions, man. Get your predictions in. We want to know, man. We want to know.
Yeah. JF a little comedian over there. Trey said he has UGA 56-3. Whoa, that's a big one, Trey. That Georgia boy says he has it 42-21. And JF says he has 42-7. So we're all thinking that Georgia going to score about 40. And the most points that anybody gave Tennessee was 21. So we'll see. Now, the thing I'm interested in to see is, and we can end it with this, is Georgia going to be able to pull off, everybody's seen it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's been floating around that Georgia is trying to pull off red and black checkered sections in the stadium. and it was started off as the student section or the small section of Georgia allotment tickets, but it's been rumored that a lot of Tennessee people are selling their tickets, and Georgia is trying to red and black checker the stadium. Is there any possibility of this happening?
Caleb? Just to point out, after the Georgia State loss, Tennessee sold out for BYU the next week. So the fans are pretty good, but I think there is a emerging boycott happening right now so they might just be able to pull it off. My brother never missed a Tennessee game since I was 7 and is boycotting every Tennessee game right now and just not watching. Yes, and I'm thinking that Tennessee's been under the grip of, y'all know the Haslam family, Jimmy Haslam, who owns the Cleveland Browns. He's the Vols' top booster.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
And I've written this in the past. He's a failed businessman in every way. He inherited his dad's business, and then he basically sent it into massive debt, and was investigated for fraud.
So he's about to be elected president, is what you're saying? I had to say that.
And that's a good one. The only thing that saved him was the fact that Warren Buffett bought out his company, because it was a company that that anybody would be smart to buy, but you couldn't bankrupt it unless you were Jimmy Haslam. Similar to like how, like you said, you can't bankrupt the casino unless you're Donald Trump. And he's Tennessee's top booster, and he's been dictating everything the Vols do for the past 10 years, and that's why the school has fallen into futility. That's why the Browns have been what the Browns have been for the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. So
you gave me something to Google later.
You didn't know Haslam was the own Flying J, and he was Tennessee.
I didn't know he was a Tennessee. Yeah. No, I didn't know he was a Tennessee.
Yeah, he's a Tennessee guy through and through.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't know that. No.
On my blog, I refer to as failed businessman Jimmy Haslam. That's like how I start the name every time. So.
Because he really tried. Because when Bud Adams died, the owner for the Titans, people thought that he was going to buy the Titans, but he ended up buying the Browns.
Yeah, I'm a Georgia guy, and I'm hoping for Tennessee's sake that Georgia is not able to pull off the checkers. So you guys will never live the trolling down. If they're able to pull that off, the trolling will never go away. Tennessee fans, please don't give up your seats and allow that to happen, because the trolling, you'll never live that down. It's just like it's like the infamous Falcons thing. Y'all already know. We ain't got to bring it up. We'll never live it down. Never. We're over it, but the trolling, the elder people will get off. But
here's the thing: so if it do happen, if they do pull it off, like it'll be a true checkerboard. Because I don't know if everybody played checkers before, the black and red squares. So if they pull it off, man, I'm gonna have to Photoshop some checker pieces on the in the stadium.
And people will be photoshopping things on this for 50 years. That's what I'm hoping for. All right. So we want to say thanks everybody for joining us. Caleb, thanks again. Caleb, let them know once again where they can find your stuff, where they can read your stuff at.
allfortennessee.com. If you guys put this up, I'll retweet it later too. Allfortennessee.com. Follow our Twitter handle at allfortennessee. So and then we are at All for Tennessee is our Facebook page. We actually don't have an Instagram, but we're part of the fan-sided network. So,
okay, cool. You got anything else you want to sell? Want to plug? You sell Avon or anything?
No, but I will say thank you guys for having me on. I will say my brother is a hardcore Braves fan.
Okay.
So
chop on.
Good luck. He's lived through the torture of feeling like his team should have 5 more World Series titles.
Trust me,
don't get us started.
Don't get us started. Oh Lord,
don't get us started. Yes.
So, yes. I will be for you. I'm hoping you guys do well in the postseason for that. And I live in DC too, so I have some love for the Nats. I know it's 2 NL East teams, but
you just saying all the wrong things, y'all. Caleb has brought up the Super Bowl, the
he done
Nationals.
Brought the Saints.
I want to say one more thing. Since you guys live in Atlanta. But I just want to point this out that Memphis started trap music, not Atlanta.
Whoa!
See, music. He named the album that.
And T.I.'s my favorite rapper. But he based it off of stuff that Memphis and Houston were doing in the 90s. And I think he would tell you that too. He was giving
selling crack everywhere.
Exactly. For real, like, come on now.
We had just as much crack in Atlanta as they had.
Exactly.
I don't think we should be bragging. Hey, well, look, one of your favorite rappers is from here, and one of my favorite rappers is from Memphis, MJG. So I'm a huge MJG fan. I was listening to MJG like earlier during my workout. So yeah, I'm a big MJG guy.
All right, there you go. There you go.
And my son doesn't know who MJG is, and that hurts me. So he's 17, and he's like, "Who?" I'm like, "Get out!"
I have kids, and I like play them the music I like played in high school. I'm like, how am I going to explain this language to them?
Please, they listen to language worse than us. Like it's more cussing in their songs than it was in our songs.
Yeah.
Like our music it talks about selling drugs. They talking about taking them and overdosing on them and stuff.
That Georgia boy said, "Now that's a lie." He said Memphis started crunk music, not trap music. Now we'll give y'all crunk music. We'll give y'all that.
Well,
3-6 Tat a Club up. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that song.
Yes, I was a senior in high school. Funny enough, that was my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, crunk had the elements of trap music. So. You know, but
they're cousins. They're related.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
related. Yeah. I mean, you do all that crack, you get crunk.
Yeah.
All that crack, you doing the trap. All right, Don. Let them know what we got coming up later this week.
All right. So, pretty much we're gonna have a show. We're gonna have 2 shows Sunday. We'll have a halftime report. Halftime between the Falcons and Houston, and we will have our show Sunday. Just be on the lookout of what's gonna happen. It all depends on how the Braves do tomorrow and Friday. Yep. We'll talk about the Braves. We either talk about the Braves, or we may talk about basketball because the Hawks training camp just started. So one of those topics will be covered. And you already know we're gonna cover everything anyway, but we don't know what the focal point of the show Sunday is gonna be. So, but next week we will preview the UGA and South Carolina game. So, yeah, we're gonna cover that next week. So,
that's a night game too next week.
So, we appreciate everybody who's been supporting us. Like I said, we've been doing this for over 9 months now, and we're continue to gain the ground. Oh yeah, shouts out to our sponsors, Grant Park Print House. We're going to be dishing out new merchandise for you guys to purchase, not just FILA sports merchandise, but we're going to also have you guys create like designs so you can wear to the games, not just Falcons games, but Braves games, United matches, Hawks games, UGA games, Georgia Tech games, whatever team you rep, shoot us up with a design. We'll create it for you, and you can buy it. So, anything else?
Nope.
All right. So
that's it.
All right. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics and other Georgia sports fanatics. Hit us up in the comments section. As always,
come holla
at your hometown sports podcast. We'll see y'all Sunday. Y'all have a great evening.
Tell them boys play time's up. Tell them put the house on me. They can put the house on me. Tell them put the house on me. Tell them boys play time's up. Tell them put the house on me. They can put the house on me. Tell them put the house on me. Tell them boys play time's up. Tell them put the house on me.